The most powerful empire in the galaxy. 47 of their best scientists, 1,000 years of research, and when it was all over, they left behind only 2 words they know. Nobody ever asked who they were. Everyone already knew. Everyone was already running. Professor Zara found the box at 3:47 a.m. Level 9. Deep archives, behind 3 security doors that had not been opened in 500 years. The box was small, old, covered in dust so thick she could write her name in it. 1 red lock and 4 words scratched into the side with something sharp. Do not open ever, Zara. Had spent 30 years as a scientist. She had studied dying stars, collapsing planets, species that had gone extinct before her. Grandfather was born. Nothing had ever made her hands shake. This box made her hands shake. She stood there, alone in that cold, dark room for a long time. Then, she broke the lock. Inside was a single stack of papers, old, yellowed. 1,047 pages. She did not read all of it that night. She went straight to the last page. Scientists always go to the last page first. The last page was almost empty. 1 paragraph at the and below that paragraph, in the center of the page, written in dark red ink that had never fully dried. 1 word. Zara read that word. Then she sat down on the cold floor of the archive room and did not move for 2 hours. Her assistant Kyle found her there at 6. He had never seen Professor Zara sit on a floor. Before, he had never seen her look like this. Professor? What happened? What is in that box? Zara looked up at him slowly. Her eyes were different now. Something behind them had changed permanently. Sit down. Kyle, she said quietly. I need to tell you something. Something the High Council has been hiding. For 500 years, she held up the last page. Kale leaned forward and read. The single word written in red. His blood went cold. What does it mean? He whispered. Zara looked at him for a long moment. It means we were never at the top. It means we were never even close. She stood up slowly, picked up the entire stack of papers, and it means, she said, that somewhere out there right now, she looked toward the ceiling, toward space, toward a tiny blue planet neither of them could see from here. They know we just opened this box. They had never lost, not once, not ever. The High Council had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, and in all that time, through every war, every challenge, every species that had ever dared to stand against them, they had never lost. That was not just their history. That was their identity, that certainty, that deep, unshakable belief that they were simply better than everything else in existence was the first mistake, until they found a small blue planet that nobody had ever heard of, and made the mistake of looking closer. When the long-range scanners first picked up Earth, nobody looked up from their work. The report was 3 lines long. Small planet, carbon-based life forms, pre-space age civilization, no significant threat. High Commander Voss read those 3 lines and almost moved on. Almost. But Elder Mon was standing beside him. Mon was the oldest living scientist on the council. She had personally studied 67 different species across her career. She had seen things that had made younger scientists resign on the spot and never return. And something in that 3-line report made her go very still. Commander, she said quietly, the survival index. Voss looked, then looked again. That cannot be correct, he said. I verified it 4 times, said Mon. The survival index was a simple number. Measured how many extinction-level events a species had survived. The galactic average was 2. Any species that survived 3 was considered remarkable. 4 was almost unheard of. The creatures on this small, forgotten blue planet had survived 11. The room was quiet in a way it had not been quiet before. What kind of creature, Voss said slowly, survives 11 extinction-level events? Mon looked at him. Her voice was completely steady, but her eyes said something else entirely. That, she said, is exactly what frightens me. Voss sent 47 scientists, the best the council had. They arrived at Earth within the month. set up their observation posts high above the clouds. Silent, invisible, completely undetectable. Team leader Drev looked down at the planet through his viewport. Small blue world, thin clouds, one yellow star. He felt nothing but mild professional curiosity. Small creatures, he thought. Simple lives. Interesting survival statistics. Probably just geological luck. He opened his first report and typed, Day 1. Beginning observation. Expecting routine findings, he pressed send, looked down at the planet one more. Time somewhere down there. Completely unaware of the 47 pairs of eyes watching from above. A human was going about their small ordinary day. Eating, breathing, living, completely unaware, or so Drev believed, would spend the next 23 years slowly, understanding he had never been more wrong about anything in his life. The first year was quiet. Humans ate, slept, built small things, argued, made strange sounds the translation systems eventually identified as music and laughter. Drev filed routine reports. The council barely read them. Then year 2 arrived, and everything changed. A massive storm hit the eastern settlements. Not a normal storm. Catastrophic one. Days of rain and flooding and wind that flattened everything in its path. When it finally stopped, entire villages were gone. Food supplies destroyed. A large portion of the population simply gone. Drev watched his screen with professional interest. Here it is, he thought. The breaking point. They will abandon this area now. Move somewhere safer. Any rational species would. They did not move. The morning. After the storm ended, while the ground was still, underwater, the surviving humans came, out of wherever they had hidden, and started rebuilding with broken hands, with empty stomachs, with tears still on their faces. They rebuilt. Drev made a small note, filed it under unusual but not significant. He was wrong about the not significant part. The drought came next. 3 years. No rain, no crops, no mercy. They dug into the earth, changed what they ate, rationed everything, shared with each other even when they had almost nothing left to share. They suffered. They lost people every week, and they stayed. The sickness came next. Drev did not even bother making a prediction. This time, he already knew what would happen. He just did not know yet how much that knowledge should scare him. Fast, silent, merciless. The sickness moved through entire populations before anyone understood what it was. The ones who survived became immune. Their bodies had fought it and learned from it, changed permanently in ways that made them stronger against it forever. And the survivors, instead of running from those still sick, stayed to take care of them. Even when it was dangerous, even when it cost them everything, they stayed. Drev sat back very slowly. He did not file a routine report that day. He sat in silence for a long time. Then he wrote 3 catastrophic events. 3 times I expected collapse. 3 times I was completely wrong. These creatures do not simply survive disasters. They are changed by them, improved by them, as though each catastrophe is not an ending, but an upgrade. He paused, added one final line. I am beginning to think the survival index number was not Luxy. I'm beginning to think it was a warning. Year 7. The scientists decided to test human limits directly. Subtle adjustments. Small stresses. Nothing that would look unnatural. Just enough to push and measure the response. They increased temperature in one region. Made it uncomfortable. Made it hard. Humans struggled, complained. Several died. Then they adapted. Built structures designed to block the heat. Changed their daily schedules. Found water sources they had never needed before. The scientists increased the temperature further. Humans adapted. Again, its scientist Pella, the team biologist, had been very quiet for 3 weeks. Then she called everyone together. Look at this, she said. She pulled up a biological scan. One specific human. Beginning of the temperature experiment. Then she pulled up a second scan. Same human. 8 months later, the room went silent. The 2 scans were measurably different. Not the way aging made things different. The way training made things different. His body had physically changed, become more efficient, more capable, more resistant in 8 months, one lifetime. This is not evolution, Pella said quietly. Evolution takes generations. This is something else, something faster, something I have never seen in any species anywhere. What does it mean? Someone asked. Pella looked at her data for a long moment. It means, she said, that every single difficulty they face makes them permanently better at surviving that difficulty. She looked up. It means the harder you push them. She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Everyone in the room already understood. And nobody in that room felt like running experiments anymore. Then came the mistake. A small observation drone flew too low one evening. Human child looked up and saw it. The child called to the nearby adults. The adults looked. Drev watched his screen carefully. Every species they had ever encountered, when faced with something unknown in their sky, did one of two things. They ran or they dropped to their knees. One human picked up a rock and threw it at the drone. It hit. Drev stared at his screen in complete brilliance. In 40 years of scientific work across hundreds of planets, he had never seen this. Every species in the galaxy saw the unknown and felt fear. Humans saw the unknown and felt something completely different, something that looked almost like anger. Then another rock. Then another. Within 60 seconds, an entire crowd had gathered, shouting at the sky, throwing whatever they could find, completely and totally unafraid of something they had never seen before and had no way to fight. Drev pulled the drone back immediately. He sat completely still for a very long time. Then he sent an urgent message to the council. These creatures do not fear the unknown. They attack it. I have not seen this behavior in any recorded species in galactic history. Request immediate priority upgrade. The council replied in 4 hours, one line. Request denied. You are overreacting. Continue standard observation. Drev read that line, said nothing, turned back to his screens, and felt in for the first time in 40 years, genuinely afraid. Year 14, 47 scientists had arrived, 31 remained. Nobody talked about it directly. The official log said things like medical, transfer, or mission reassignment, but Drev had checked every record. Personally, none of them had arrived home. None of them appeared on any other mission anywhere. They had simply ceased to exist in any record. One day their signals were active. The next day, nothing. No distress call, no emergency beacon, no final transmission, just silence. But here was the thing that kept Drev awake every night. Their equipment kept running, every scientist who disappeared, their cameras still recording, their sensors still collecting, their systems still transmitting perfectly. Whatever had happened to them had been so precise, so surgical, so completely controlled, that it had removed only them, without touching a single wire, without disturbing a single instrument. Drev called an emergency meeting. Nobody goes below cloud level from this point, he said. Maximum distance only, no exceptions. Young scientist Mira raised her hand. With respect, how can they possibly know we are here? Their technology cannot detect us. We are completely invisible. How could they be? 3 weeks ago, Drev said quietly. I reviewed the footage from Ven's final recorded day. The room went completely still. Ven had been the first to disappear. In the background of his final recording, Drev continued, almost out of frame, there is a human standing in the street. Below, the human is not looking at Ven. The human is not looking at the surroundings. He paused. The human is looking directly at the camera, not at the general sky, at the exact precise location of a camera that should have been completely invisible. Silence so heavy it had. Wait, they cannot see us, Drev said. By every law of science, they should not be able to detect us in any way. He looked around the room slowly, and yet, they know exactly where to look. Nobody slept that night. 3 days later, Mira was gone. Her camera was still running. 6 scientists remained. Drev sent them all home. He stayed alone and he wrote 7 days. No sleep, no food. Just the sound of his pen moving across paper in the silence of an empty station. 1,047 pages. He wrote, We arrived here with certainty. The certainty of those who have never been wrong. We looked down at these creatures the way one looks at something small and already understood. We were wrong. Not slightly, not in small ways. Completely, fundamentally. Wrong in a way that changes everything. Every species in this galaxy has a breaking point. A level of pressure beyond which they collapse permanently. This is not a theory. It is the most reliable law we have ever tested. Humans have no breaking point. We spent 23 years searching for it. It does not exist. Every disaster made them stronger. Every loss made them more determined. Every time we applied pressure we were certain would finally break them, they absorbed it, adapted, and returned more capable than before. Their biology changes within single lifetimes. Their minds rebuild after losses that would destroy other species permanently. They pass strength to their children, not just through genetics, but through stories, meaning every generation starts slightly ahead of the last. They are not going towards something. They are already there. We just could not see it. I believe the humans have known about us for years. I believe they allowed us to watch. I believe our missing colleagues were not taken randomly. I believe they were studied. The same way we came here to study humans. We thought we were observing them. We were the ones being observed. Do not send anyone else. Do not attempt contact. Do not let them find a way to reach us, because what is on that planet is not primitive. It was never primitive. We are not the most dangerous thing in this galaxy. We never were, and whatever comes next, we are not ready for it. He sat back. The station was completely silent. He had not heard another voice in 6 days. He looked at the viewport one last time. The planet glowed quietly below, so peaceful, so ordinary. He picked up his pen, wrote the last word. Then, for the first time in 6 days, he heard something. Sound soft, calm, almost gentle, right outside his door. He turned around slowly. The camera kept recording. His face in that final frame was not afraid. It was something else. Entirely understanding, complete and total understanding. He finally knew everything. The chair was empty 30 seconds. Later, the camera kept recording. The planet kept glowing outside the viewport. Patient as always. Zara lowered the last page. The room was so silent she could hear her own heartbeat. Kale had not moved in 20 minutes. His face was completely white. Everything, he whispered. Everything the council told us. Everything in every history book was a lie, said Zara. Flat, empty, like something inside her had been removed permanently. They read this report 500 years ago. They understood exactly what it meant, and they made one decision. Nobody else could ever know. Why? Said Kale. Because if the galaxy knew, Zara said slowly, that the most powerful empire in history sent 47 scientists to study a primitive species, and not one of them came back. She looked at him. Directly, nobody would ever follow the council. Again, silence, heavy, cold, final. So what do we do? Kyle asked. Zara stood. Walked to the viewport, outside, far in the distance, barely visible against the stars. A tiny blue dot, quiet, still, completely ordinary looking. She stared at it for a long moment. We delete everything, she said quietly. Every file, every copy, free record that this station ever existed. We leave tonight and we never... The communication panel lit up. One incoming transmission, Kyle. Check the origin coordinates. His hand stopped moving completely. Professor, he said. His voice had become very small, very careful, like someone trying not to make a loud noise in a dark room. The transmission... I know where it is from, said Zara. She did not move for 3 full seconds then. She walked slowly to the panel and opened it. A human voice came through the speakers, calm, relaxed completely. Unbothered, like someone who had been waiting a very long time for a phone call that had finally arrived. Hey, sorry to interrupt. We noticed your station about 6 months ago. A short pause. We watched you find the box. We watched you read the report. All of it. Every single page. Another pause. Slightly longer. We thought it was only fair to say, Hello. After all, your people spent 1,000 years watching us. We just wanted you to know we were always watching back, the voice went. Quiet for a moment, then, with the faintest trace of a smile. Don't worry. We come in peace. One final. Pause, probably. Click, the channel closed. Zara and Kale stood completely frozen. 5 seconds, 10, 15. Then, Zara turned to her pilot. Her voice was barely a breath, but every person on that ship heard it, and every person was already moving before she finished saying it. One word, the same word, written in red ink 500 years ago by a man who had finally understood, in the very last moment of his life, exactly what humanity Osa's run. The ship vanished into darkness behind them. The tiny blue dot glowed quietly, patient, watching, smiling as it always had, as it always would.